Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean.
And Lee.
No Kieran tonight because he's had to go to work.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to say Lance Stroll had a good race.
I reckon that's the main thing.
Mm.
You know, he's hiding from the truth.
Has to be. Like it can be the only possible solution. The solution? That's not the right word. Conclusion.
Yes.
You can tell that he's fitted in right to this show. He's denying reality within a few weeks of joining us. So, a little bit late this week. I do apologise. For various reasons, we've not been able to get together. But it's Wednesday night. We're only 2 days late. There wasn't any Tuesday news. And bugger me, there might be some on Thursday.
It's always going to be the way, isn't it?
It is. We are completely and utterly cursed. This week, it's going back to the US Grand Prix. Haas have kicked off and lodged an official protest about everyone's favourite subject at the moment, track limits.
Yay.
It's the new tyres, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
For God's sake. I mean, so basically they're saying that Albon and an unnamed Red Bull and an unnamed Aston Martin, but we think it's Perez for Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know who the Aston Martin is. But they were both terrible. Kept going off track on certain corners, didn't get penalised, and therefore should be penalised well after the race. You know, at the moment we're on, 11 days and counting?
It's more than that, isn't it? Because that was the first of the triple header, so we're going back.
Oh, God, it was.
We're going back 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, so 18 days and counting.
Mm-hmm.
And they want the result revised. Funnily enough, to give K-Mag a point.
Hulkenberg.
Was it
Hulkenberg finished 11th in that race and was 3.2 seconds behind Albon, who got a point. So yeah, they're arguing that Albon should have had a penalty and therefore, with the 5-second penalty, would have finished behind Hulkenberg, giving Hulkenberg the point instead of Albon. This serves absolutely no purpose. Looking at the championship, it doesn't move Haas up, it doesn't move Williams down. It's a confusion.
It just means that Hulk will have to pay slightly more for his super license next year because you get charged by the point.
Which doesn't really benefit Hulk, does it? I mean, I'm sure he's good for it, but...
I mean, this and Massa's ongoing case, which he blatantly fibbed about a few things about because he said he wasn't going to be in Sao Paulo and then turned up on the grid. Yeah, let it go. You know, I mean, this show is purely audio, so I'm saying it now. Frozen.gif. You know, it's happened. It's been decided. You can't change it. Michael Schumacher won the title in 1994, like it or not, fairly or not, by ploughing into hill or not.
Yeah.
You know, Senna and Prost each took a title from the other one by wiping the other one out. And I mean, Ferrari would have found a way to fuck up in the 2007 season anyway. If Massa went into it, all he had to do was finish the race and he'd be world champion.
2008.
2008.
Ferrari actually were champion in 2007.
Yes. Yeah, because everybody else fucked up.
Yes.
It's been a long day. You know, you can't change things that far after the event. All right, within a couple of hours of the race finishing.
I wouldn't have objected to a sort of on the day post race thing. You think something's been missed, fair enough. But this, if it was that inobvious that it's taken you a couple of weeks to figure it out.
Yeah, because Haas claimed they've found new video evidence, which the FIA didn't have access to.
If you're having to, slow a video down and zoom in that much, that it's taken you this long to figure out, maybe he's drifted over the line a bit there, probably not that much of an advantage.
Oh, God, I can say that. CSI Gunter. Yeah, I don't know, it just strikes me as kicking off for the sake of kicking off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's it. It's happened. The FIA didn't get something 100% perfect. Well, human error, move on. Until the day that AI is good enough to detect every single thing that happens anywhere in the world at any point, things are going to get overlooked in sport.
Mm.
You got the Liverpool manager wanting a match replayed because between the referee and the VAR, they got denied a goal.
Well, they don't change. Like once your results are in, it doesn't change betting, does it?
You're not going to
get. Do you have a vested interest all of a sudden?
No. I'm just saying, like, if you won, I'm trying to think of some of if you won money on somebody winning a race,
yeah,
and then it's Lewis Hamilton podium,
yes,
that's a perfect example. They'd have paid out for Lewis Hamilton's podium,
probably,
and then after the fact, it's been reversed. But that doesn't mean all of a sudden, if you had Lando down for second, you can go back to your bookies.
An interesting one, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. It all depends on the bookie. If you haven't claimed your winnings and all of a sudden Lando's second, and you had a bet on him to come second, then you might have a case.
I'm pretty sure it's like whatever the final classifications are.
It's provisional classification at like the end of race is what they pay out on, isn't it? I think rather than sort of post scrutineering.
Yeah, because I mean, the main betting thing certainly in the UK is horse racing, and if the result's in doubt, it usually gets announced within about 20 seconds of the horses crossing the line that there's a steward's enquiry, so the bookies don't pay out at all until that's been decided.
The my favourite one is the paradox of Team LH when it comes to this, like the court wranglings, because on one side, Massa's trying to take a championship off them, and they go, "Oh no, this is wrong. We can't be having that championship reversed." And then on the flip side of it, they're going, "But yeah, how about we reverse Abu Dhabi instead?"
I don't think Massa's actually trying to take the championship from Hamilton. What he's trying to do is sue the FIA for the money that he thinks he would have got had he been world champion that year.
I think he's
He's
going
got a good
for the
calculator if he's figuring that out. I thought he was going for the championship.
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought he was going. He was going for the loss of earnings and
no, because even Toto Wolff has said that depending on this, the outcome of Massa's, I think it was Toto Wolff anyway. The outcome of Massa's case could influence whether Mercedes push forward to get Abu Dhabi thrown out.
It would set precedent, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. Let's have a look. Latest story. Timo Glock has warned that Massa's bid to get the results of the 2008 World Championship overturned risks opening the floodgates.
Yes.
I mean, there is a guy that definitely has kind of has a dog in that fight.
Does he? His lack of fighting dog is kind of the issue, is it not? Or one of the issues.
Yeah, I just took it that he was after.
No, he wanted the title.
Oh,
I mean, law of averages. He probably has a point that if that race doesn't go tits up, he may end up in a slightly more favourable position without the sort of the safety car palaver. But that's sort of a little bit past it now.
I mean,
well, I suppose the thing is, if he can prove, I don't know how he would prove. I take it you would need you'd need a whistleblower essentially, wouldn't you? But if he could prove that race was fixed.
Well, I mean, there was no doubt in that the crash was fixed. What he's, I think the main sort of meat of his case is saying that the FIA knew that it had happened during the course of that season and didn't do anything about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's why he wants that race completely overturned. So, he wants the race nullified. And with that happening, he would have gained enough points in the rest of the season to become world champion.
Yeah, did Lewis get a podium in that race?
Um,
And I think he after the hose situation was quite far down the order, I think.
yeah.
Or was it? But he got screwed over, didn't he, with the safety car?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
he would have won that race.
He would have certainly been higher up without the safety car, which
Yeah.
happened while Ferrari were having the hose pit stop situation.
Well, he was leading until the safety car came out.
Yes.
And then they hosed him.
I mean, you can't guarantee Ferrari still wouldn't have fucked that pit stop because it's Ferrari.
Yeah.
To be fair,
But if the field...
Ferrari that era were all right.
They were all right. I mean, they were reigning champions at that point. But they could, even without the safety car, they can have that cock up and he comes back in further up the field because the field isn't bunched up behind a safety car.
Yeah.
But I just think, nah. So, yeah, Toto said the outcome would set a precedent that could change the 2021 title result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those. I think he's absolutely right that race cost him that title, but I don't think there's a huge amount you can do about it now. It's so far after the event.
Yeah, 15 years ago, it's done. It just seems like a bad bout of petulance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not doing himself any favours. And to be honest, it's not doing the image of Formula One much good. As a whole.
I don't think it actually hurts Felipe Massa.
I don't think it looks great for Felipe Massa.
I don't know.
No, but I don't think you're right. It doesn't look great for him, but I don't think he's got anything to lose from it.
I don't know. I think at the moment he's always been I think even though not a champion, someone who was like fondly like, oh, it's Felipe Massa. Now it's like petulant little whinger Felipe Massa.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, five days ago, Massa exclusive. This is on Racing News 365, so I don't know how exclusive it is. I want to clear up big misconception about 2008 title action. So he's not interested in money or the payoff. He just wants the result amended to declare himself the world champion.
Don't we all?
I mean, like, it does worry me stuff like this because, like we said, like before the show, you want things decided on track, not in a courtroom.
I mean, can you imagine?
There is that bit of me which loves a piss boil. And I do love watching Team LH lose it online and having his first championship taken away from him. That, I mean, I'd have to take the day off just to watch.
But no, I think as entertaining as the Twitter shit show would be, I think you can't just nullify every result that has ever involved something being misapplied by the FIA, because you would have very few results that would stand.
The first thing the FIA and Formula One would have to do is like employ some sort of ministry of truth to go and rectify everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's now potential for changing the whole 1976 World Championship when James Hunt got reinstated in the British Grand Prix.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ferrari could complain about that and say it shouldn't have happened, so therefore Lauda was the champion. Yeah, how far back do you want to bloody go?
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine just Abu Dhabi. That's what the internet would want to go to.
Oh, I'm hoping for a really boring race there in a few weeks' time. Shall we go back 4 days? See what I did there?
Yes.
Because we had the, as it's now known, Sao Paulo Grand Prix this weekend. That was a little bit eventful, wasn't it?
It was busy, yeah. It's a good race.
There was a lot going on. I mean, to say that Max just sort of set off and won it. yeah, there was plenty going on behind him. Driver of the day, probably whoever drives the flatbed that removes broken cars, because he got about as many laps in as Burt Maylander, possibly more. Yeah, there was some interesting moves and performances, shall we say? But you get that at Brazil. It's that kind of track that encourages doing something daft.
And the DRS is very strong there as well, isn't it? Which obviously makes it a bit more sort of chopping and changing in the order.
Yeah, and the good thing is, after the last couple of races, there's multiple detection points rather than you get one, you make the pass, you get to use it again 2 corners later, and you can bugger off even further. So you actually have to use it and positioning tactically.
Look at Fernando at the end of the race. Jesus, I know we'll get to it later. God,
we'll get to him later, because I mean that is one of the best Alonso performances I've seen in years. Speaking
about using things tactically, I noticed the online Formula One internet community using fucking facts tactically.
Factically.
Yeah, Did either of you notice the willingness for people to try and pretend that the sprint wasn't good this weekend?
I can't remember the sprint, which tells me it wasn't great.
The sprint was great.
Was it?
Yeah, the sprint was pretty good.
Was I just not paying attention?
Yeah. Right.
And
you were sat on the sofa, absolutely full of cold.
That's true. Actually, I was quite full of cold, and I think had the codeine at that point. So maybe it just didn't. Resonate with me personally.
Yeah, you were full of cold drugs, and I'd asked you to video some fire that afternoon.
True.
Yeah, I don't want to make this a fucking regular part of the show. All of a sudden, it's just last week was funny, and this week is actually interesting. Well,
if you want funny and interesting at the same time, go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels.
Yes.
Subscribe, and the last 2 shows are funnily interesting.
Funny, interesting, and slightly sexy.
If you like necks.
Yeah. No, I noticed that Spanners was the Missed Apex guy had a big thing where he was going saying that I quote, the media are trying to spin that the sprint race was good. And you go, no, there was overtaken all over the place. It was fucking tight. It was really good. It was a really good sprint race. And it's almost like there was a group of people that have been slagging sprint races off, online trying to convince people that they didn't enjoy what they just saw.
Yeah, I mean
it baffled me.
It was good because nobody knew whose tyres would actually hang on till the end.
Yeah. And I still don't understand this thing. Even if people don't like the sprint race, would you rather an extra practice? Is that where we are? Would people rather a practice that they wouldn't watch instead of another race?
Your average anorak would, but that would be it. But
it's weird.
F1 says the sprint race is for the fans. The problem is fans don't like the format.
Do you know what the problem is? I think there is it's that squeaky wheel gets the grease, isn't it? If the sprint races weren't doing it as far as numbers go, with actual bums on seats watching them, I think there would be more of a grumble inside Formula One to get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to keep them, and it certainly looks like they're going to, because they've announced that there's going to be 6 again next year. They are tweaking the weekend format. One thing that I don't like about them is making Saturday just an entire sprint day. You've got your practice and you're qualifying for the Grand Prix on a Friday. Saturday, you've got your sprint shootout, your sprint, and then you get the Grand Prix
it
Sunday.
Is weird, isn't it? That it's we're doing qualifying, and then we're just going to forget about that for a day, and then we're going to do this other qualifying, and
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it does cause problems for the teams as well, because effectively you get one qualifying session and then you're in Parc Fermé for the entire weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It makes buying tickets for the race on Saturday much more appealing.
Yeah, it does.
No, it's if you can. I mean, realistically, the sweet spot would be is that you have Sprint Saturday and then Grand Prix Sunday, and the qualifying for both races are in the morning of those days.
But where would they put the Porsche Super Cup?
In the wall
bin.
where it usually ends up.
But no, it's a condition. You know, for every F1 race you watch, you've got to watch some middle-aged rich blokes putting expensive cars in polystyrene and Tech Pro.
Mm.
No, I reckon Friday practice day, FP1, FP2, as is. One qualifying session Saturday morning, reverse grid sprint Saturday night. Or Saturday afternoon.
I think that makes sense. The only other thing you could do is have a real qualifying session for the Grand Prix on Sunday, like we're used to, and then just turn around and say that the fastest time for each driver throughout the practice sessions will be used for the sprint.
Kind of like they do a bit in MotoGP, where the fastest ones in practice go through a Q2.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. It needs adjusting, because I mean, with the way that F1 cars are, and don't forget, Paddy Lowe said this: building an F1 car is a very difficult thing to do these days. And I'm assuming setting up an F1 car is even harder. So with the absolute minute margins that the teams are working to, I think they do need more than one practice session.
But we're getting such good Grand Prix with one. Everyone's in the same boat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and Mercedes was full of holes this weekend.
Yeah, but do better. That's the thing. They need to do a better job. Like Aston Martin, for instance, did a better job with what they had than the might of Mercedes.
Yeah, can't deny that. I just think there's not enough time to gather enough data on the tyres, because they are more important than ever before.
Yeah, but I think that adds to the show. The Formula One is now such a fucking it's won and lost by anoraks in front of laptops rather than drivers behind wheels. So the less number crunching that can be done is probably it probably leans back more towards racing.
I mean, yeah, the more it relies on the driver, the better. I will, I'm not going to deny that. This is why I've been watching a lot of IndyCar, and that's a spec series, and everyone's got a spec chassis, one of two spec engines, and spec aero.
Yeah.
And you find out who the better drivers are, and who Grosjean is. See, someone's given him a job for next year.
Mm.
He's got a seat at Junkos Hollinger Racing. He's replacing Callum Eilert.
Oh, is he? I know who that is.
Yeah, he was the one out of the. He was the other one from George, Lando, and Alex that kind of got forgotten. He was like the ginger stepchild or something.
Oh, I thought that was Jack Aitken. I thought he was the forgotten one of that era. I thought Eilert was like a year or two later.
No, Aitken actually made it to Formula One.
Once because of a crash.
Because of COVID.
Oh, it's because of COVID. That's true. It was more because of COVID, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, currently doing European GTs or something. Or...
What is he doing? Is he in DTM?
I think he's in that, as well as the what was the Blank Pan series, which I actually just thought was sponsored by bread. I didn't know Blank Pan was like a really posh brand of watches. I just thought it was sponsored by French bakeries.
Well, yeah, I mean that would be white bread, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, on to Brazil. Qualifying for the Grand Prix was it got interesting. I mean, quote of the day from Alonso: "It is night."
Yes.
It got very dark very quickly at the end of qualifying, and
Did you see the storm? The video of the roof getting ripped off
It looked horrific.
grandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, at first it said that it was an empty stand, and then they showed footage from inside the stand and all the people running. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get the feeling they're going to have more secure roofs on those stands
Yeah,
next
it's
year.
probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that will be discussed. But I mean, qualifying got held up because they were having to clear all the debris off the track, which it was windier earlier on. Apparently, a lot of debris had been blown onto the track, and that's what caused a couple of punctures.
Right. Okay.
So that's why there was a delay, because they were actually going around and manually sweeping the track and removing, bits of Alonso's car after he blew a tyre, but that was running over some debris that had come from one of the stands. It was an absolute mess. Right, should we go team by team?
Yes.
Yep.
Right, I think we have to do Alfa Romeo first, because they were the double DNF.
Oh, they were, weren't they?
Yes, Sauber-nonymous.
And not only Sauber anonymous, but Sauber might not be Audiable.
Now, Audi have issued a statement saying they're 100% committed to the F1 programme.
Uh-huh.
Right. So they're gone.
I was gonna say, did anyone ask them to? Because if that's an unprompted statement, that's a bit weird.
I wasn't there when we shot him. Yeah. I think this may be Andretti's way in at this rate.
Yeah. That could work.
And I hope he does a better job than what Alfa Romeo are paying Sauber to do at the minute, because God, they were nowhere again. And when I say nowhere, I didn't even notice. It was like, oh, double DNF. Oh well. I think Bottas was running 10th at one point while pit stops were going on. Mm-hmm. And I seem to recall he had an okay start, but other than that, it was just...
Had they not broken down, they would have just kind of pootled around to probably like 12th and 13th. It feels like they were having that kind of day.
At best. Yeah, they were just... they were nout. Sorry to say, for any Sauber fans out there. I know Chris is a big Sauber fan while they've got the Alfa Romeo branding, because he does like an Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, but his was always broken.
Well, yeah, because it rains over here. He did...
Maybe that's it then. Maybe it's because they got a bit wet on Friday.
Ah, right. Yeah, shit. Yeah, they'll have rusted.
Mm-hmm.
So what about time to get a warranty repair on them? Yeah, they didn't get the covers on in time. Right, that explains everything. Right, okay, so we've got 2 Grand Prix in deserts next, so they should be absolutely fine. Unless, like that British long jumper, they're allergic to sand. Can't remember which one that was.
Was she called Jade Jones?
Oh, yes, that could be right, yeah. Yeah, a long jumper allergic to sand. It's not great.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's dedicated.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Right, what is going to be next? I probably think it'll be Haas. K-Mag, in the middle of the whole turn 1 thing. Hulk involved as well. Ended up 12th.
Kind of K-Mag's fault, all that, wasn't it?
I think he started it. I don't know if you'd sort of like blame him, but I think he was the catalyst.
I think, but he just seemed to like swipe in a bit, didn't he?
I think it's sort of almost similar to what we had in Mexico with Perez and Leclerc, in that it was kind of 3 cars all going for one bit of track and not quite realising they were all there, and didn't end very well for 2 of them.
Yeah, Albon's done some absolutely amazing shade throwing about it.
Excellent.
He said it was all his fault because he got the best start of the grid.
Sorry, guys, I was just too good to be on the same bit of track as you.
Yeah, he said he had the best start on the grid, and he was trying to pass both Hasses because he knew he'd be faster than them during the race, and didn't want holding up. And unfortunately, things happened.
Well, he wasn't held up. I think he did end up further down the track than both of them.
Yeah, well, no, I think.
I mean, Hulk carried on. Obviously,
I mean, K-Mag's tyre, I think, won the distance competition.
True.
And took 2 other cars with him.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing what Albon could do, and that was quite disappointing. But yeah, I don't think you can say fully, K-Mag was completely and utterly responsible for that, but I don't think there's blame to be apportioned, but he was more involved than anyone else. I would say that
Yeah, I
was
think
fair.
it was very lap one, turn one, wasn't it? Everyone just sort of not quite knowing what each other are doing, and
Yeah, and if somebody does get a better start than you, you're gonna want to defend.
yeah,
And between him and Hulk, with the squeezing, it just trying to fit 3 cars into a space where one could have got through comfortably. That is always going to be the result, and of course that kind of left Hulk a bit on the back foot after that, because I don't think his car was 100% great because it took a knock in it as well, and it's amazing, isn't it? We still saw more of all the Hasses than we did Alfa Romeo, and Haas only had one car in the race past turn 1. Lee's gone quiet. I don't like it when he does that.
contemplating.
Where do we go next? Probably Williams, because I mean we've talked about Albon. Logan Sargent, not the last of the 1 lap down runners, but I think
there were two of the 1 lap down runners ended up having like the entire back end of the car put back on.
It started off, there was 2 1 lap down, and Daniel Ricciardo didn't get lapped again for the rest of the race.
Fair dues, yeah.
Only finished, what was it, 43 seconds behind Logan Sargent when he was an entire lap down. So even with a knackered car, he still managed to make up sort of about half a minute on Sargent through the race. So, do Williams get rid of him? I know we say this every time, but I think give him a year off, give him a year to develop, and then maybe look at him again for 2025.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. It just, again, it's just something that isn't. Formula One isn't working out for him, is it?
I don't think it's a disaster. I think there is something there, but yeah, it feels like it's maybe come a year too early, and
he's got more about him driving wise than Latifi had.
Oh god, yeah.
If he had Latifi's money, yes, okay, he'd be there for about another 3 or 4 years, and he'd have time to mature. Everyone said similar about Stroll when he came in. About he's only there because of the money. Sargent, I think, has the potential to be a better driver than Stroll.
Definitely.
No question, he's better than Latifi.
Yes.
I don't think Sargent could have the peaks of Stroll.
No, I think it'd be more steady though. He wouldn't have the absolute troughs. He knows where his mirrors are. He knows the difference between hot tyres and cold tyres.
Maybe. I'm not so sure about that.
Well, he's not gone fast enough to heat the tyres up.
I think the other issue he's got is Albon. Like, you've got just a complete driver rejuvenated, haven't you? That's there, and his whole mission is to save his Formula One career and show that he is the contemporary of the people that he came up with, and he's, in my eyes, easily done it. I think we forget that he's probably got one of the toughest teammates on the grid.
And also is kind of a great example there of someone who that you can sort of take a year out, regroup, and come back, and not be like, oh, here's the guy that lost his seat. It can be, oh, here he comes again.
Didn't do Prost any harm.
No.
Schumacher, jury's out. And then again, the Mercedes at the time was a bit of a dog. But yeah, I mean, he had a solid race. He didn't get anything wrong. Just isn't getting to grips with being able to go that fast. Yeah, give him a year out, year on the sidelines, in the sim. Maybe send him a super formula for a year. get some practice in there. Send him to Indy. I mean, it worked for Montoya when Williams did that.
Doesn't there are many empty seats going in Indy at the moment?
No, I think that's the only issue, isn't it? You have to send him to Indy Lights, which is just a crash fest every weekend. But yeah, nothing to write home about, good or bad, which I think is kind of what he needs at the moment, because
Yeah.
there's been a lot of bad recently. Especially with all the American Latifi nicknames.
Did he finish 11th?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so he was just on the edge of the points. It's that's a pretty good race for him. Yes, especially when so many other people were dropping the ball as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was 16 seconds off Ocon. So all things considered, that's not dire.
Was it 60 NFs in the end?
Yes, it was. As to where he'd have finished with more finishers, I don't think it would have been 11th. But
no.
You play the hand you dealt.
Yeah.
Here's a question: would you keep, if you had the opportunity of keeping him on or taking Schumacher? What would you do?
Be on the phone to Red Bull and say, Lawson, you're not planning on doing anything with him next season.
That's the Schumacher is crashy, isn't he? Let's be honest. We know his.
Well, Lawson's already said he doesn't want to go to Williams, doesn't he? Hasn't he?
Yeah.
Lawson's come out and said, "No, I'm a Red Bull driver. I'll be in a Red Bull. Thank you very much," of some variety. So yeah, I can see Schumacher being available for that Williams seat. So that would be who. I think I'd probably stick with Lawson if that was the idea. If that was the choice.
You mean Sargent?
Sargent, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Schumacher didn't. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on him, but he didn't really prove himself. All right, the car was terrible when he first came in,
but he wasn't doing the what we're talking about here with Sargent. At least just seeing the checkered flag.
Yeah, and it's like the car was terrible, but it's not like he was.
The steering worked as far as we know.
Yeah, and he was in with Mazepin, wasn't he?
Mazepin, and then did he have a year with Magnussen?
He might have had a year with Magnussen as well.
Yeah,
but even Mazepin, it's not like, and that car was a dog.
Oh yeah,
he didn't blow Mazepin's doors off. And that's Mazepin.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are stories Mazepin was getting all the upgrades because his dad was paying for them.
Yeah, but I mean, did that car get any upgrades anyway?
Nominal, I think.
I'm not sure that's a complete benefit in Haas's case.
They got a couple of new sponsor decals during the year.
Go faster stripes.
Yeah.
By an upgrade, it was polished.
Yeah. Would you give Schumacher another chance?
I feel like he has to end up on the grid again at some point for at least a season.
Has he raced at all this year? Has he been doing anything?
Purely sim work.
I feel like that's what he needs. I think he needs to go into another series and get back a bit of confidence and before coming. I think he would need that.
Yeah. Stick him in WEC for a year.
Maybe.
Because
I don't think it necessarily matters what series. I think he just needs a few races of sort of doing quite well and not being last or on a flatbed.
Yeah, it's just a shame he can't go back to F2.
Yeah. I think the other one was Formula E was suggested. And he came out and said that he doesn't see. It was pretty damning on Formula E. It was that he just said he doesn't consider Formula E relevant.
What with all those electric cars that we're all going to be driving in 20 years' time and things like that. But
relevant to motor racing, I suppose.
I mean, I can see where he's coming from because at least with F1, there's some circuits where you can pass on. Most Formula E tracks are 3/4 of a car wide. And, qualifying sets the podium. Unless somebody crashes. Until somebody crashes.
Yeah.
I think Formula E is a fucking shambles. Like I don't think that series as it is carries on, forever.
it's not looking great. I mean, I don't think we watched more than 2 or 3 races this
No.
year, did we?
No.
You know, I remember watching the last one, the indoor-outdoor one in London. And as we switched it on, there was a 12-car pile-up.
I gave up on Formula E because it got split at one point, didn't it, on television?
Oh, it was all
But-
over the place, trying to figure out what channel it was on.
Yeah, it's just make it easy for me, or
Yeah.
you know, I'm not doing it. You know, it's like trying to find it shouldn't be a game.
Well, we couldn't even watch qualifying over here because Channel 4 put it on their YouTube, which is geo-blocked for the Isle of Man.
Incredible.
So yeah, it was like what it was like trying to get the football results in the 1980s. It was the equivalent of watching it on CFAX. You just had to hope that the videos of it on Twitter weren't geo-blocked.
Yeah, it's the fucking motor racing equivalent of a speakeasy. You need to know where the door is and have a password to get in.
There also seems to be this rumour that Jermaine Genus is going to be presenting it next year, which no one seems to quite understand how or why.
Well, that's what everyone said when Vernon Kay got the job, and
At least he's a presenter.
and he's now Ken Bruce. Well, Jermaine Genus is now a presenter. He does the One Show every night.
I don't know if you need to be a presenter to do the One Show.
Which, for non-British listeners, the One Show is like a magazine programme after the news every night at 7 o'clock that does stories on, like, crocheting and
I'm so happy
skateboarding
I don't
ducks.
watch live telly.
I mean, like, Ronan Keating is also a presenter of the One Show, and he's not a presenter.
And the son of one of Spandau Ballet.
Oh, Roman Kemp is a presenter, to be fair.
Is he?
He does
I just-
presenting.
I just thought he was like professional son.
I think he got his opportunities because he's professional son, but has actually kind of built some craft.
Oh, like Rick Parfitt Jr. with ability.
Probably, yes.
I have literally no idea what you're talking about.
Tell you what, we'll
It's quite timely though, because I did fill the form in online the other day to explain to the BBC that I don't need one of those TV licenses off them, and everything you've just done made me feel all the happier about it.
You feel good in your decision.
Nah, only Connect is worth the TV license alone. Right, what team we're going to do next? I would probably think it would be AlphaTauri, maybe. A 9th and a 13th. We got flashes of Angry Yuki.
Yes. Always entertaining.
Yeah. Danny Rick with half a car held together with gaffer tape. A victim of K-Mag's tyre on turn 1.
It was a shame that because that car was quick.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing what he could do around there because he has been pretty good around Brazil before, and he seems to have got a handle on the car. Because what was he? He was 9th, unfortunately, just outside the points by just less than 0.2 of a second in the sprint. So yeah, I was it was a bit gutting because I thought he's going to be. I mean, it turned out he was the best Australian in a broken car of the day.
That's a championship we didn't know was a thing.
It wasn't until turn 2, lap 1.
I don't know if it's the right point to talk about this again now, but I suppose we talk about Ricardo. But do you think he goes back to Red Bull next year?
I reckon he'll start the season in AlphaTauri. Or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Perez will start the season in Red Bull. Now, I have read that Perez's contract has a specifically no demotion clause in there.
Oh, so if they don't want him, he doesn't go to AlphaTauri.
Yeah, if they don't want him mid-season, he's getting devreased.
I had a half theory a couple of weeks ago that, there were these rumours about Perez potentially announcing his retirement. And obviously that sort of came in when it didn't happen. I had a half theory that since he's under contract for next year, I had a half theory that he was like deliberately tanking to get like a sort of Raikkonen year off fully paid. But I don't know if I've gone off it or not. I'm just sharing it with you.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's now gone from liability to adequate. So I don't know.
Can I just go back to something you said a minute ago about Daniel Ricciardo being good in Brazil? He is shockingly bad in Brazil.
I always thought he was pretty good there.
First year, 20th. Second year, 13th. Third year, this is in Toro Rosso by this point, 10th. Retired, 11th. 8th, 6th, 4th. That was quite good. 6th. Didn't do it the COVID year. Retired, got hit by a tyre.
This is not dripping in trophies.
It's not his track. No, zero
No.
trophies. Best he did was a 4th, and that was when he was in
Okay,
Red
I'll
Bull.
rephrase it. Ricardo has the potential to be solid in Brazil.
At best. At absolute best.
I just got it. I just got it into my head that it was one of his better tracks. I do not know.
No.
where.
Are you confusing him for Webber? Webber always did quite well in Brazil.
Webber always did really good just about everywhere. It's just that Vettel always did better.
The Australian Coulthard.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
No wonder they got on so well.
yeah, AlphaTauri. I'm still saying the second most improved car on the grid this season from the start.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. After McLaren.
After McLaren, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolute hand to begin with. Now looking like a point scorer, which, given their pedigree, that's what it should be. But we say this every week, we say this every year.
I mean, they started the year, didn't they, with Yuki in 11th and De Vries doing who knows what.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how much of that is upgrades and how much of that was having somebody else like Daniel Ricciardo come in to help work setup out.
Yeah. And to probably give Tsunoda someone to actually measure himself against, because
Yeah.
De Vries was never really there.
Because it can't be an accident that car has started to come right as far as that car's concerned. Like literally from the day Daniel Ricciardo got into it.
Yeah.
So there has to be a factor there that Ricciardo has had.
Maybe even Lawson as well. I mean, he seemed to get on quite well with it. I'm sure he provided some useful data for them.
And you know what's Tsunoda done up to 3 points finishes up to before the US, and then 2 points finishes in the last 3 races.
I tell you what, we have got a lot of things wrong since we started doing this podcast. I don't think we've got anything as wrong as we got De Vries at the beginning of this season.
Yeah, but we didn't pay him for like 6 months like AlphaTauri did we? So, you know, they got it wrong too. It just cost them more.
You know, all those months we didn't get anything on Patreon. Where do you think that sponsorship went? Yeah, we just got that badly wrong. Then again, was it all him, or was it the fact that the car was terrible, and between him and Tsunoda, they just did not know what to do with it?
Nah,
like you said, it's taken Ricciardo coming in.
Pretty sure it was him.
I mean, Ricciardo was already in like the Red Bull thing at that point, wasn't it? If that's what they needed, someone to go there and do some setup, he could have done that without taking a race seat.
I'm trying to defend De Vries, but yeah. And next week on Defending the Indefensible, I'll say why everything after Highlander 2 was worth making. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We fucked up.
It didn't work. It
didn't work. I'd like to see what De Vries does next with his career, if he's got one.
He's back to Formula E, isn't he? I think.
That rings a bell. Yeah, because he was.
I think
was he going to Harvard
contract.
and then he was going to somewhere else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going back to Formula E next year.
Well, good luck to him. We may watch some of his races if we actually know what channel they're going to be on, or channels.
Yeah, you literally have to channel it. Like, you've got to draw the coverage out of the ether.
Right. It's going to be Mercedes next.
Not a great weekend.
Toto said that was their worst weekend. I beg to differ.
Are we going to go Germany?
Or Barcelona?
I was gonna go Barcelona. 2016. 3 corners for both cars.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Wasn't
But at
good.
least that was exciting, though.
Yeah.
Remember the like the special white car and the special overalls and stuff in Germany.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it worked perfectly with the Benny Hill theme tune when they were trying to do that pit stop.
Yeah, that was a pretty dire weekend. It's what it has done, and it's not just because like I kind of like George Russell, and I'm sick of the way that he's portrayed in the radio thing. I really don't think radio messages should be broadcast to the public anymore.
I think they should, but just less of the "he's gone off track, sir."
Yeah, it's unnecessary drama. It feels like Drive to Survive clips. Keep it for that. That's what you want to do. You want to use it to try and concoct some sort of narrative through the course of the race.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it to the reality shit.
A clip of the quality of "Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing." That 100% should be on the race coverage. Something like Ocon's gone off on that corner for the last 3 laps.
That's all it is now. All it is drivers grasping on each other.
We don't really need to know, do we? Unless Ocon gets a penalty, whether people are saying he's gone off or not. It's not adding to
We're
it.
working on it. And the other thing that we need for the radio being on there is listening to Ferrari melt down strategy-wise through the course of the opening 20 laps.
It would be nice if we got it live as well, so you knew if when you're hearing a driver, it's at least within the same lap that he said it.
Yeah, I mean you can get that on the F1 TV feed, and obviously for the UK listeners, the red button.
Yeah, but nobody uses that. Who out there actually switches cameras while they're watching a race?
Nah.
It's one of those things that sounds really good in theory.
And then you realise it involves a bit of effort and you can't really be asked.
Yeah, and then it's not just that. Then you remember that there is people paid hundreds of thousands of pounds to direct the television for you. Like professional TV directors that can do a better job than you scrambling around with a mouse button on a couple of options.
Yeah. I agree with you fully. It would be good if there was like an alongside live team radio that you got there and then. And you didn't have to subscribe to the app or have a second, third, or fourth screen and extra set of speakers.
Yeah.
But I want to hear the Ferrari meltdowns. I want I want to hear Plan Q.
Okay, that's fair. That's quite entertaining. I want to hear Charles Leclerc cry again. Is what I'm trying to say. It's a guy which is fucking. You're talking runway level attractive man who's a Formula One driver driving a Ferrari going, I don't understand why I'm so unlucky. Oh, bless you, Charles. Bless you.
Yeah, I can't follow that. Yeah, we'll just go back to ripping Mercedes apart. Then again, I think that's what they're doing with the car at the minute. Apparently it was all down to the floor. It was causing them a lack of grip, massive tyre degradation, losing a ton of aero, and being draggy at the same time.
Did they do like a bit of extra floor this week after? So it was obviously the last sprint week they had issues.
Yeah, they had raised the ride height because they were worried about the curbs, because I think the curbs are a similar height in Interlagos to how they are at Mexico. So I think they'd raised the car, which obviously didn't help with the aero and the drag. And I think they'd had to reinforce the floor as well. And it didn't work. Now, apparently next year's car, God, we've been saying this about Mercedes for a couple of years now. Next year's car, it's not going to be an evolution, it's going to be a completely new concept. Now, last time they came up with a completely new concept was the zero side pods.
But you know the weird thing is about this? They can say it's going to be a new concept car, but that's a massive gamble because the rules are stable.
Do they need that gamble though? Because at the moment they're not in it.
Maybe. I mean, you could argue that for.
That wasn't next year's Mercedes engine purring, by the way. That was dizzy.
Yeah, but barring a couple of races, they've had a top 3 team car for most of the season.
Yeah, but they want to be a top 1 car.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah. But this is the thing. You can't. Is the problem the car, or the fact they don't understand the car? Because they don't seem to really know what went wrong in Brazil, and they don't seem to really understand why they were rapid in America.
I don't think they fully understood a car since 2021.
No.
I think that, the last 2 cars they just haven't wrapped their heads round.
But that might be the problem. If at this point they don't understand it, it might be time to cut your losses and do something else.
You're probably right. It just makes me wonder then.
It's still a gamble, isn't it? That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to understand what they come up with next.
Who was it? Was it Ferrari that I can't remember. I remember it was Flood saying who it was that said it. But someone turned around and said...
Talking of which, he's alive and well, and he was at my gig on Saturday night.
Good. He said someone said they don't believe in the Winter World Champions, and that's kind of what Mercedes are going to want to do, isn't it? They want to come out with a new concept of car next year, and be capable of winning. And it never really works. I can't help but think that this is got away from Mercedes until 26.
Is it going to be massively different aero-wise in 26 though? Because I mean, the next big change is going to be the engines.
Yeah, I mean, well, that would be the opportunity for them to try and get the advantage back on the engines, isn't it? But they feel a bit like Red Bull did, like during the hybrid era. Now, it's where Red Bull they were there, but they weren't like Red Bull there.
They kind of got a bit back each year, didn't they?
Yeah. But the difference, I think, with Red Bull and how Mercedes are is I think Red Bull kind of accepted that they had to do, whereas Mercedes, especially Toto Wolff, kind of coming across a bit petulant.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, Red Bull seemed to blame Renault for all their problems.
Yeah, but then they got a Honda, and that kind of made the point for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, well, look at Renault. It just in general, I think Red Bull, Renault needed Red Bull more than Renault needed Red Bull more than Red Bull needed Renault. That was harder to say than it should have been.
Yeah, because I mean, the Renault or Alpine engine hasn't exactly set the world on fire.
No,
set itself on fire, I think, a couple of times.
Oh, it's good. It's good at doing that. But yeah, at least with Red Bull, they could pass the blame off onto a third party. With Mercedes having their own engine as well as their own car, what they're going to do? Complain that the car's not quick enough and blame AMG. But I think the problems that they've had have all been sort of balance and aero related. You had the porpoising, you had the drag, you had like a grip off the line. There was all kinds of problems. And the car only works fast in certain configurations on certain fuel levels with a certain wing angle. I think what they've done is they've kind of made a mix and match. They've got all the best concepts. We'll look at this front wing configuration. Oh, great, that's the fastest. We'll look at this rear wing and we'll take this one. That's the fastest. But the airflow doesn't come off the front wing in such a way that the rear wing's the most effective. But they're meant to be the fastest altogether. The whole is less than the sum of the parts. And I think that's where Mercedes have struggled, because they've thrown all these amazing ideas into it. And remember Homer Simpson's car of the future?
Yeah.
That's what they've got.
When you're talking about the sum of the parts is less than the parts, I was thinking of a Tunnocks tea cake. Individually, all those are great items, but they kind of shit on each other.
I think you get the sense.
Funnily enough,
it's
the cockpit on Homer's car was Tunnock's tea cake shaped.
There you go.
So Mercedes, the flying tea cake.
Yeah, I think you get the feeling there. It's not a it's just not a harmonious team either.
I mean, is every department blaming every other department for what's going wrong?
Well, even the drivers are kind of arguing with the team now, aren't they? I can't help think that if the roles were reversed between Lewis and George, that the team would have asked Lewis to move out of the way for George. He was a quicker car, quicker car. That they were struggling with temperatures, and I think they probably should have let George go there.
I mean, as it turned out, they didn't. There was no point doing it because the car died.
Yeah, but does it if it keeps running in dirty air? If it's struggling with temperatures, get him in clean air.
And then again, it's back to my theory of Mercedes don't build a car to follow; they build a car to lead.
But I mean, I can't help think that if I can understand Mercedes being Lewis centric, don't come at me. But on the other hand, if it's okay being Lewis centric when you've got a driver that's essentially driving at the same level, if not just ever so slightly behind Lewis, but is also a much younger, much more developing driver. There is more room for George to develop now than there is for Lewis. But I can still understand Mercedes having Lewis as their number one driver. I get it. But if they are in this position where we have another 2-3 years of Mercedes getting it together, are they even going to get it together quick enough for Lewis anyway?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. He'll be pushing 40 by the time the new regs come in, and is he going to be sort of wandering into the twilight of his career, or is he going to do an Alonso?
But he won't stick around at that point. If they're not getting it together and he wants to do an Alonso, he'll look to go elsewhere.
Yeah, but Alonso keeps leaving and going back to whatever Renault's called that week. I'm still not 100% if Renault gets completely bought out by celebrities. It's 25% of the way there at the minute. If the Renault organisation finds itself in minority ownership of that team, they'll get Alonso back and he'll probably own a share of it himself.
If he doesn't already own a share of it.
I think if he did, he wouldn't have left at the end of last year.
In quite the way it went down. Went down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you say Mercedes sort of a team doing battle with themselves. You can hear the frustration in a lot of George's radio when you're telling me to race, but you're telling me to save the tyres. Which one do you want?
Yeah. It's totally understandable, the frustration from both drivers as well. Like from Lewis too. The team feels lost.
How much are they missing James Vowles, do you think?
A lot, I think.
Yeah. He comes across as such a measured and thoughtful person.
Yeah, very calming presence.
Yeah, and that does seem like that's what Mercedes needs. Because it could he was at the position there. I bet there's very few people in Mercedes I bet can tell Toto Wolff to fuck off. James Vowles was probably one of those people.
Yeah, I can't imagine him being put through a table. Anybody else, yes.
No. I think Nicky Lauda was probably the other one.
Yeah.
So I think he might be massively missed. And
that could be the reason why the strategy seems to be all over the place. because, we joke about Valtteri, it's James.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it won him enough titles.
Yeah.
Well, see, this was the thing as well, because we obviously missed messages, because we heard George wanting to say, essentially giving two options to Mercedes for what, and it wasn't a case of how when we hear from drivers so often go like, I'm much quicker, let me past. It was the case of, if I'm here, Lewis needs to keep me in DRS so we go together, or let me past and let me try and go forward.
Yeah, and then it was, we're working on it.
We're working on it. Yeah,
What are you working on?
Yeah, this is a motor race. Like, you don't have time to, and it showed what happened at the end of the day, because he ended up getting munched when he didn't have DRS.
Yeah, what's going to be next? What's the strategy for the second stint? Your call is very valuable to us. Please hold.
Yeah. And he couldn't do that within a team. Like, Sainz did that with Norris to win a race.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's proved that it worked,
Mm-hmm.
and then Sainz took the piss out of other people for doing it later on. So they're using my tactics.
Yeah.
Well, as we have discussed previously, Sainz seems to be a very good strategist.
Maybe they need to get him in to replace James Vowles.
Maybe.
Right, onto the normal shit show that is Alpine, who didn't do all that bad, but were really anonymous.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from
mid-season,
aside from the bit where Ocon just like went into the side of Alonso in one of the qualifyings.
Apart from that, but on during the race.
During
itself,
the race.
Yeah, I mean that move or that crash that Alonso had during that. I think it was sprint. Was that sprint?
I think it was sprint qualifying.
It was an accident that could have happened to anyone. He lost the back end of the car. He was understeering. He denied it officially, so therefore it must have happened.
Yes.
But you could actually see on the in-car footage that he was fighting the car.
Yeah.
To try and get it out of the understeer, and just collected Alonso and bang. And then after that, I can't remember a great deal of anything else that he did.
No.
It's one of the unfortunate races where, because so much other stuff was going on, if you weren't doing something exceptional, then it's very easy to lose you.
Yeah, there were kind of a Nico Rosberg suit.
What, fabulous?
Beige.
All right, but a bit on the dull side.
No.
There was that one time he wore navy.
Oh, I think he wasn't feeling well that weekend. I think he admitted he was he had a bit of a fever.
Oh.
Go away, cat.
I was going to say,
I was
this
gonna-
is
I
not
was
one
gonna
of
say,
ours.
That did not sound like one of our podcasts. Was that Jensen?
No, it was New Cat. And just come on. Just sit down.
This new cat is a black and white cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've also just acquired black and white lap cat at the moment, which is just fun. It's obviously that time of the pod.
The podcatting hour. Probably telling us to move on from Alpine because it's bollocks all to talk about with them. Right, next, Team Sainz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leclerc did not partake.
Yeah, wow, a DNS. I mean, all right, the hydraulics went.
Yeah.
I
I was slightly disappointed by that because I thought it was dead funny at first.
Yeah, I mean, Discord was like with, oh my god, he's binned it already. Then as it turned out, it was a fault in the car. Who'd have thought Ferrari can't even make a car to get to the start line now? But yeah, Sainz didn't do anywhere close to as well as I thought he was going to.
It was fine, wasn't it? The Sainz drive. It wasn't anything special, but he was there.
Yeah,
It was Bottas in a Mercedes. He put that car precisely where it could go.
Yes, and no further.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd have said at the start of the weekend that Sainz would finish behind both Aston Martins and still finish in the points, yeah, I'd have wondered what the odds were and decided not to bet on it because I didn't want to lose money. But yeah, there was absolutely nothing amazing about what he did, and I mean, I guess that's good in a lot of ways because it didn't give Ferrari any room to fuck up.
No,
You know, they've got one car to concentrate on, and well, yeah, it was all right. Now that is a massive improvement for Ferrari because they struggle when there's two cars. So did he have to race against himself?
well, they could cut the strategies down by half, so there was only 15 strategies to work out.
Ah, we'll get as far as Plan N, and then we're good. Yeah, nothing bad happened to him, but he didn't do anything spectacular either. So that moves us on to Aston Martin. Lance Stroll had a good weekend, Kieran.
He did.
Just for clarification, Kieran sent a message earlier saying that he couldn't make it tonight. Lee replied to him, "You just don't want to say that Stroll had a good race." His reply, I'll give him 7 out of 10. Started second, was 5th by turn 4. At that rate, had it not been red flagged, he would have definitely finished 47th. But no, we actually got to witness one of those rare Lance Stroll good performances that he can occasionally throw in.
I mean, ahead of the Mercedes, ahead of the Ferrari. Only a couple of
not too far off Alonso.
Not too far off Alonso, who had an unbelievable drive.
Yeah, I mean, 6 seconds off Alonso. I think that's one of the closest all season.
Yeah, it's a very good day in the office for Lance Stroll.
Had a good qualifying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then got completely and utterly overshadowed by those last 20-odd laps that Fernando did, and especially the last lap.
Well, this is what's so fucking infuriating about him, isn't it?
He can do it.
Yeah, there's clearly something in there. You know, I don't know what it is. I can't help but think in the same ways I was thinking about this. Like I often just daydream and end up thinking about Fernando. And it's kind of the same reason as why I think Fernando is still good at the age he is. And if Fernando wins a world championship, just one with Ferrari, he's already retired. It's the fact that Fernando is he'll forever be the driver with this immense talent that never quite fulfilled it. And I think that's what keeps him going. Unfortunately for Lance, I think he's got the opposite of it. So because there's no threat, because
the driver with no talent that just won't quit.
No. He's because he clearly has got talent, but he's. Sometimes I wonder whether because he's got such a privileged life, you know, like genuine fucking privilege, that he doesn't have to try anything.
It doesn't matter if he doesn't perform; he's still got that seat.
He can fail and still fail upwards.
Well, he's made a career out of it so far. Yeah, I mean that could well be the case. You know, what drives Alonso? Is it wanting to win a world championship at another team just to prove that he can do things in a car that isn't Renault powered?
I think it's just legacy. Like in the same way he wanted to go and do Le Mans and he wanted to do IndyCar, it was because he knows he should have won more championships in Formula One and won more races and got more pole positions. I will argue to the fucking doomsday with anybody. I think Fernando is the most talented driver to ever drive a car. Any car. And any racing series in Formula. So I think it's just a case of if he hasn't got the if he hasn't got the sheer numbers to justify his talent, he's gonna make sure he fucking points it out when he does do something like his podium here.
Yeah, I mean, his resurgence this season has been nothing short of incredible because nobody gave Aston Martin a hope at the start of the year, pre-season. And, we joked about it constantly. It's like another great career move for him. This could be that last year at Ferrari all over again. This could be the McLaren Honda Part 3.
Yeah.
And then he goes and just repeatedly sticks the car on the podium. And I'm like, well, how the hell is that happening? All right, they've given him a good car. The issue is, of course, we don't know exactly how good the car is because there isn't an average.
No, there's just an exceptional and an okay.
Yeah, if they had like a Gasly or a Perez in there, we'd know exactly what the car was capable of doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it for a while. I can't remember what was it like. Fourth, it was either fourth or seventh, if I remember rightly. Alonso dragged a McLaren to a reasonably good position, and then it turned out after the race was over that the damage that he had done to the car was worth like half a second off.
It was the Baku race where he came into the pits on 3 wheels, wasn't it? And
yeah.
3 wheels and half a side pod hanging off.
And then he proceeded to go out and absolutely fucking murder Van Dorn.
Yeah.
So I think Alonso's always. I don't think he's ever not driven at the standard he's driving at. It's just, and he's not even been given like a good car. He's been given a half decent car by Aston Martin.
I mean, to be honest, when the 2 titles that he won, the Renault wasn't the best car on the grid.
No.
Yeah, I think. I think Ferrari still had the best car that season. Well, those seasons, certainly 2005. But he made something of second or third best car, and he got the extra out of it. Certainly, that could be what he's doing. What he's doing with this one now. If he was still at McLaren, would we have a 2-way fight for the championship?
I think he would definitely be what, second or third in the championship.
I mean, what's he going to do when he goes to Red Bull next year?
What a timely result that would be, though, if that's actually in the conversation somewhere. You can't tell me that even if that was just like a paddock rumor, that there wasn't a joking Christian Horner in the garage going, well, maybe we should sign him.
Yeah, I mean that last lap pass was incredible. 20 laps of defending, and then I think he knew that if he lost the place, he was doing enough to put it in the right places and keep the battery at the right level to charge it up on the penultimate lap to just go for it on the last lap and take it to the line. It was half a tenth he got it by, but it doesn't matter. It could be 25 seconds.
Even when he moved to make Perez go the long way round, if he left that to the last possible moment, if he doesn't do that, Perez gets ahead of him. There was a really cool thing about I don't know if he's heard it, about what he was doing to keep Perez behind. So he was driving different lines, like essentially on the same corners differently on different laps. He was using his battery in weird places.
Yeah,
so
we saw them talking about that. He was recharging in the corners where there was no obvious passing place.
Yeah.
So he'd got it on the straight, so he could keep it behind, and Perez was charging in different places and having to use his battery to try and keep up with him, and then couldn't overtake him on the next opportunity that Fernando had for recharging.
Yeah. See, I think not just the fact that it would be fucking like proper box office stuff. Uh, Alonso is actually the perfect driver to replace Perez. You replace him. You give him a next year a deal for next year with 1 year's with a second year as an option, and that takes you nicely up to 2026, where you can then put a big money offer in for Lando Norris, which is clearly what Red Bull want to do.
Yeah, I mean they've said it without saying it, and Lando's kind of said it without saying it that he wouldn't be unhappy if he ended up in Red Bull.
Yeah.
And Max may have decided, yeah, sod it. I'm going to try something else with my life now. By that point,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
'Cause I still can't see Max carrying on to 30 or past that.
No, I don't think he will.
He's said this, hasn't he? That he doesn't see him being sort of in F1 for life.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's he got left to achieve? 'Cause he's not bothered about breaking records. He's proved, he's proved that he's the best out there, and why make a struggle of it?
It's not just that. He's also, unless something goes horribly wrong over the next couple of years, he's proved that he can. He's going to be good enough to come back, is what I'm trying to say. Though he could do a Fernando Alonso sabbatical and come back to Formula One because he's got the reputation to do it. So that's the thing. He could. I'm sure he could work out a fucking deal with Red Bull, couldn't he? Say, look, I want to go for 2 years, and Red Bull would would do a deal where he could go for 2 years.
It wouldn't surprise me if he was 100% guaranteed to come back, and they could replace him with someone of quality. I'm not going to say of the same quality because I don't think those drivers are few and far between. Everyone sort of bands around the term generational talent, but I think this is what we've got here with him.
Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, it might be the case. I think it would take Helmut Marko not being there for him to be able to do that, because I don't think that'd be the kind of thing that Helmut Marko goes for.
Maybe, but it's the argument would be, is it worth your while not doing what Max wants you to do? If only Red Bull know how equal those cars are, between Perez and Max. If they are in anywhere near shape or form, within like a couple of tenths of each other on upgrades, then it's Max is doing an exceptional job, because you take Max out of Red Bull are fighting for championships with Perez.
Unfortunately, just going on the raw numbers from one Grand Prix, it would appear that Perez is half a second a lap slower than Max.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think he is half a second a lap slower than Max. I don't think his car is half a second a lap slower than Max's.
It could well be. I mean, we're kind of covering Red Bull now. I did want to do McLaren next.
Yeah.
With them being the most binary team, Piastri managing to get his car round with the rear wing held on with chewing gum, gaffer tape, and a couple of paper clips.
Yeah, it was a shame for Piastri. I don't think he was ever on Norris's level this weekend, but
no, but
he'd still be well in the points.
No, I think he was in for a solid fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying, why have they sent him out again when the car's obviously damaged? It's like, well, safety car, he gets the lap back.
Yeah.
Safety car will probably mean at least one car's had to retire. Couple of incidents. You can just...
You're 14 classified, was it?
Yeah, you just drag it round, and if you can get it into 10th, just by dint of being able to finish.
Alonso and Perez could easily have finished very differently on that last lap. It doesn't take a huge amount else to go wrong, and you're in the points.
It's not just that either. It's we're at the end of the season,
Mm-hmm.
so there's if you know you're okay on engines and gearboxes and stuff like that, what are you saving it
Yeah.
for? You're
And
here to go racing.
Mhm.
Get him on the track and make him earn his wage.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's a rookie. A bit of extra track time isn't going to do him any harm.
Oh, that was his
Yeah.
that was his first race there in anything.
Yeah, so yeah, you might as well go and see what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to see it close up slower, and then you can go quicker round there next year when you're a bit more familiar with it.
What I do like is I think the surge forward and maybe that win in the sprint cup where not sprint cup in the sprint race when Lando came in and like congratulated him, said, "Oh look, Oscar won a race in McLaren before I did." I think Lando's found another level in himself.
Yeah, I think that and the improvements to the car.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean Lando was stunning this weekend.
yeah.
And he has been for the last few races, and he's absolutely driving out of his skin. You know, I've made no bones about it. I've been a McLaren fan. I can probably say all my life since I first knew what a Formula One was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I remember James Hunt as world champion doing TV adverts with Morecambe and Wise in 1977. So I liked McLaren because I thought I liked Morecambe and Wise, and I've been a McLaren fan since then, and I'm loving McLaren at the moment.
Yeah.
And the way that Lando has come on, I mean, you know, we've known he's always been quick. He hasn't always had the car to prove it. But now he's quick and he's got the car. And, you know, he's I think he's one Honda engine cock-up away from his first win.
Yeah, that's been the real problem, isn't it? Is that Red Bull have been pretty impervious. Has Max made a mistake this year? You know, actually, maybe he's gone off in a practice session or something like that.
Nothing major, no.
No.
No,
it's difficult.
Springs to mind.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing I can think to a mistake was like he had a couple of lockups in the Austin or something like that. Was something going on with his brakes?
I think I remember him running wide, but it was never like a oh my god, he's in a wall kind of incident.
No.
It was just like, oh, there he goes.
Yeah, his worst result was 5th.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, no DNFs.
And that wasn't something went wrong as such. It was just that the car wasn't set up quite right.
Yeah. You know, take Singapore out and 2 second places.
Yeah.
You know, I was third in the Baku sprint, second in the Qatar sprint. Yeah, it's just been no problems with the engine. I mean, Red Bull have only had two retirements all season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be an issue. The Red Bull and the Honda engine.
No,
those 2 retirements would be crash as well, wouldn't they?
Japan and Mexico. Yeah. So yeah, there's been no real car issues. What was Perez's 16th in Monaco? Just a bad race. So yeah, all right. He may need a little bit more behind him in the car. Problem is that every time he starts to close in on Max, and we can talk about Red Bull at the same time, obviously. Every time he starts to close in on Max, Max has just got that little bit extra in him or in the car, and he can just stretch the gap out a little bit further, and then ease off back to, cruising speed, which is the flat out speed of the guy behind him.
Yeah, I think, and that proved it, didn't it? And that that lap where Lando really put an attack on Max, and I think probably just caught him off guard with how much pace he had and how much faith he had that he could keep his tires in. And then as soon as that was kind of thwarted, Max like, well, we can't let that happen again. And the next thing is he's got 3 seconds on him.
Yeah,
It's-
bang, suddenly DRS range is a distant memory.
yeah, we shan't be having any escapades like that. So I mean, I don't think we really see. I'd say I don't think we really know how car is, but then I can't quite work it out because Perez is where he is.
Yeah, you know, if they are identical cars, 34 seconds down, effectively half a second a lap.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be reasonably like similar cars. You know, I don't believe that they're going to make like one biffer car for Perez just to make Max look good. You're talking he's going to be like maybe an upgrade, and I don't mean like a full upgrade, just like not the newest front wing or not the newest like rear wing or whatever the upgrade happens to be. Behind Max, because you would think a team like Red Bull anyway has the resources for upgrade parity. Fucking hell, Lee! Come on, it's Haas that do the upgrade parodies.
Use your words. Actually, one telling thing from this week was fastest laps. Max's fastest lap was 0.7 of a second quicker than Checo's.
Wow.
Because Max got a 1:13.42 and Perez got a 1:14.12. Obviously, Lando destroyed everyone by nearly a second.
Yeah.
Just to prove that McLaren can do it. I mean, it looked nippy all the way through practice, sprint, qualifying, whatever.
Well, I think there's on a single lap, the McLaren is a match for the Red Bull.
Yeah.
What was this weekend? You know, he should have been on the front row for the well, you know, he should have started on the front row for the main Grand Prix, and it didn't matter too much in the end. But you know, and he proved it in the sprint qualifying that the McLaren should have been there if they hadn't messed it up with the rain. Can it make the step next year?
I think Lando will get his first win by the end of next season.
I hope so. But I mean, over the course of the year, do you think McLaren can make the step to challenge Red Bull?
I think they'll have races where they challenge. I don't think it'll be a consistent sort of season-long challenge, but I think it'll be closer.
2011 McLaren versus Red Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've got the potential. They're definitely on the right trajectory. Red Bull are going to be a step ahead of everyone, just by dint of Adrian Newey's pencil. And yeah, McLaren. Yeah, I think they'll be challenging for wins at some point next year. Challenging for championships is a bit of a step too far, but I think there's going to be some races where it's going to be closer than 8 seconds.
It just makes you think as well, doesn't it? I wonder what would have happened this year if McLaren had found this deficiency in the car earlier, you know, and not had to launch with, because obviously as well, working within the budget cap, not had to launch with this hamstrung car they had, saying, look, this is not our car. The upgrades are coming for the car, but like Spain, wasn't it? I think they started to come on.
Yeah.
Imagine that if they could have started the year with this philosophy and built on it from the first race,
then they'd have been challenging for second all the way through.
I think they'd have been challenging for wins by now.
Well, no, they've been challenging for second in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, but I think that might have been what they needed to get on terms with Red Bull.
I hope they've got that for next season.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I hope they built a fucking rocket ship for next year. Let's see them as rock stars and not wankers, which is something that we haven't done for a while. And with a smooth segue, I've had some nominations on Discord. Thank you to everyone that sent them through. Some of the highlights are from Jay Whitlock, Alonso as a rock star.
Yeah.
Awesome defensive driving for 20-ish laps and getting the position back on the last and on the opportunity was awesome. Max, as always, didn't put a foot wrong all weekend. I don't know. I heard stories coming out the garage about there was a spoon in the knife drawer in his driver's room. The Brazil track always throws up a good race. Stroll, good qualifying and quietly a solid race. I can't argue with that.
I don't know if I'd go full rock star for Stroll. Like, solid up and coming artiste rather than rock star.
I think it's a full rock star for Stroll this weekend. Okay. I think you've got to look at it within the lens of like where everything else has been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd probably say one off rock star.
Okay.
Aston Martin all round for rock stars, to be honest.
Yeah. Just with what they did. He's got some wankers as well. Magnussen's tyre went on a rampage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Leclerc's hydraulics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, depends who you are.
Yeah, they're in your rockstar category, aren't they? George Russell, always asking to go ahead of Lewis when Lewis is so much faster.
Yeah.
That didn't actually happen.
Nah, he's becoming a bit of a whinger.
No, but that did, like, the asking to go ahead of Lewis when Lewis was faster. That's not what happened. That's a lie.
You won't have seen this, Lee, because you don't watch Sky coverage, but biggest wanker has to be Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh,
I've heard of it.
You can't not have sort of seen that video, I think.
I haven't seen what happened. Did he just do a really shit interview?
Yes. You know when like the celebrities who clearly don't want to be there refuse to do an interview and we think they're a wanker. This was agreed to do an interview. Absolutely no doubt there was a wanker.
Oh,
it's like trying to get Martin Brundle to play air guitar and piano.
He was like touching his poppy as well, which was just very strange. It was like, yeah, that's a poppy. Stop touching.
I know he tried to blame it on anxiety and the fact that he's just not good around big groups of people.
Yeah, he's described as what a waste of space, even if he was great in the dirt playing Tommy Lee. He actually was. What else? What else have we got? From our regular Wings triumphant, Perez as a rock star. Yeah, he's still way up his teammate, but you know what? He put in a solid performance, and him and Alonso gave us the single greatest battle of the season. Well done to him. Now let's hope to God he actually keeps it up.
Yeah, but you can't. I still think Perez kind of gets the wanker award this weekend. He shouldn't have been fighting with Alonso when Max was so far up the road.
Losing the fight to Alonso.
Sorry, losing the fight to Alonso. Yeah, sorry.
It wasn't just he was in that fight; he came second in it.
Yeah, I don't. Apart from the fact it was exciting, don't get me wrong. I can't see how this weekend can be anything but another. It's not a complete Checo failure, obviously, because he was fourth. At least he was scoring good points. But again, if that McLaren had been better at the beginning of the year, or there was actually some sort of like fight with stakes to be had, he wouldn't have been there. He wouldn't have been in the mix. So that's why hire Alonso.
Extra wankers. Mercedes in general for terrible strategy, driver management, and a complete vanishing of pace.
Facts.
Yeah, fair.
Machine Gun Kelly for ultimate wanker just as a human being. Sadly, he's not top wanker of the season. That still goes to the guy who started the fight in Mexico.
I mean, again, depends who you are.
Have we got anything else to add on that score? Somebody's nominated the Brazilian weather because who doesn't love a big old cloud?
As rock star,
as rock star.
Yeah.
And wanker for Red Bull for making such a bulletproof car that Lando can't get a win.
Yeah, well, that's not great, is it?
Yeah. Anything to add? Or do you
I
think,
don't think
do
so.
you think
No.
that covers the lot?
I think that covered it.
Yeah. And of course, I did Rockstar to Daniel Ricciardo's neck. And if you want to find out why, go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels. Sign up for £1, $1, €1, €2 as I found out that's the equivalent at the minute.
Yeah, something like 40p, isn't it? An Aussie dollar.
Yeah. And you will get to hear the extra Patreon show, which still, for the second time, features commented, annotated, and footnoted extracts from Overtake My Heart, the fantasy Thick Rick novel.
Christ.
And yeah, I have to read this fucking thing out. Part 3 will be coming next week.
Don't act like you don't love it.
I was going to say, whose idea was it?
Yeah.
Whose idea was it? It was kind of a collective idea between quite a few people on the Patreon chat on our Discord.
Yeah, but who brought the idea to the podcast?
Yeah.
Jana.
No.
No.
Within those of us who decide what goes on the podcast.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't
Wasn't me. Wasn't Lee. Wasn't Kieran. Flood's not been here for a few weeks.
I may have been drinking at the time. I suggested it jokingly and kind of got carried away and ended up buying the book. Yeah, all right.
Also, did I just pick up on you using the term involved in this with this novel of Daniel Ricciardo?
No, Thick Rick.
Oh, right, okay.
No, that's what he's called on the cover of the novel.
Cool. Well, clearly it should be
pamphlet.
Daniel Ricciardo.
We'll find out when we get to chapter 3 next week. If you want to get in touch in other ways, then drop us a line.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh my god. Drop us a line, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. We are at 3legs4wheels on the socials, and on other socials you can get us
at Sean Cowper,
at the Lee Stevens,
and at Pablo100. Flood is at Flood21, and Kieran is at Kieran is Boring. Hopefully he'll be joining us next week when we will have a Las Vegas Grand Prix to preview.
I'm really excited about it, I know it's probably not going to be a great race.
I think more.
But the spectacle is going to be cool.
I was briefly excited about it when you told me it started at 4 a.m. However, it starts at 6 a.m.
Oh.
By which point I'm at work.
So I'll either be watching it on a delay or twice that day. Then I'll be watching it twice.
Is that lights out time? Is it 6 o'clock?
6
in the
o'clock
morning here?
6 o'clock UK time.
Well, that's fine.
And as somebody pointed out this afternoon, the circuit actually is in the same shape as an upside down pig, so it's now been called the Spider Pig.
I like
track.
this when circuits are shaped like stuff.
Yeah, so live from the Las Vegas Spider Pig.
Excellent.
Yeah, we did have an offer to use a podcast recording studio out there. It's just that we'd have to make our own way and book our own accommodation.
It's a little bit pricey.
So, hey, patreon.com/3legs4wheels. We'll try and get there next year if there's a race. Failing that, we'll see you next week. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.